Call this meeting to order. I'd ask if people have their cell phones on to please turn them off or silence them. And we'll begin tonight's meeting with roll call, please.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yeah, here.
Ken Fletcher?
Here.
Jerry Quirian?
Yes.
Patricia West? Here. And Steve Russell?
Yes.
And Ben is not present tonight.
We recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. Under communications, we'll have a public comment. If anybody would like to step up to the mic and identify themselves and their address, they can speak on any topic that they wish at this point.
My name is John Ferry, 6 Jim Street, Winslow. I just want to have some positive comments about the building for the junior high that is hopefully about to break ground. I wanted to say thank you to going way back about 12 years, to the Capital Planning Committee, also, which led into then having a study committee. A lot of good work was done, both of those committees, and then the building committee did the hardest part of the work. And they went through several drafts and several layers of changes and several different budgets that were proposed. And I think a lot of positive things came out of it. I do think that if you look back at all the work that was done both by the superintendent and the administrators, feedback in the positive should be the what we stress for going forward. And with the groundbreaking coming up, I think it just seems impossible. There's been 90 years since the original building was started, and now we're going to go to the next chapter. So I just wanted to say some positive thank yous to all those people that were involved, and I think it's about time we got the ground broken and get started. So thank you to all those people.
Thank you, John. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Now is the time. Any topic? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to communications. Reports of committees and commissions. Will begin with the town manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The only comment I'll make is LED streetlight update. Back in January, I had reported that we thought we had about 65 streetlights that were missing. CMP did their survey or assessment, came back and said, actually, we only have 7. They pointed out that the street names on the original paperwork that they'd given us were wrong on quite a few of them. So we were looking for lights in streets where they didn't exist. So that's why we didn't have them. But anyway, they did reimburse us $7,600 roughly for those 7 street lights, and they went back 6 years. And I'm still working on LED streetlight conversion. I'm hoping to have a package together for our June meeting, so the council can look over the options and make some decisions. And that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for the town manager? Yes.
Yes. They were missing 7 lights. How did those disappear?
Don't know.
Don't know?
No, they don't know either. Obviously, it's their lights. And
It could have been pole chains out, so they
yeah,
put another
could
light
have been an
on.
accident or something like that. But they didn't have a record of that.
Okay.
But CMP also has different names for streets than we do. So that's probably why we came up with 60-something.
Anybody else have any questions for the town manager? You all set? We also have the department head reports, the financial committee report, the treasurer's warrants, and the financial report. If nobody has any questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept all reports as presented.
Second.
I
Moved and
have,
seconded. Go ahead.
yeah, just one comment. I was reading through the public library, and I wonder if the award that the Winslow Public Library got, I wonder if Pam could just get up and just say a few words about that? Sorry to put you on the spot. but-
No, I hope I can remember the name of the award. It was the Spirit of America Award that's given, each county gives out a certain number of them. And we received that, and we received national recognition too. And our award was based on our strong programming that we do, providing programs for children and adults. We were cited for providing great programming for people of all ages in the community. It was quite an honor. We had a proclamation by the Senate and the House Committee that we got framed up in the library now. Very nice.
Yeah, well, we thank you for your effort, and, you know, been to the library many times. Not as often as I'd like to, but I know that it's really busy when I go, and I think we're all heading in the right direction, and you guys seem to have it with all ages now, and I think that's very positive. So and we thank you for your effort for getting this award. And thank you.
We all love what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
One comment. I noticed that some of the departments don't have their letterhead at the top. I don't know, unless I read through most of their report, I'm not sure which department it is. And one is Public Works, another one is Parks and Recreation. So would it be possible to ask them to put
Some sort of letterhead?
Yeah.
Some sort of heading?
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
Any other comments?
Just, you know, reading through the police, just, if you could, Chief, if you could just the hard work by Mr. Captain Fleming for his work, you know, right through that, and that's going to be a really great thing for the department going forward, I think. And
Yes,
stuff.
and I put in July, have him give a little speech of what he went through and.
Oh, good, oh, good.
Good. If there's no other comments, I'll have a vote on accepting all the committees and commission reports. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. That's unanimous. And now we move on to old business.
Mr. Chairman, if
sorry.
I may. So ordinance number 1 and ordinance number 2, we'll need to table those. I was focused on meeting the state requirement for public notice and missed our local requirement, which required 14-day notice in the newspaper. So we'll have to do those at the June council meeting. And I will add too that for contract zoning, which is ordinance number 1, I have scheduled a workshop for May 28th, and I'll send out an email reminder. But it's going to be May 28th at 6 p.m.
And we've already had one reading for those two,
Yes,
right? And so-
yes.
Okay.
Will it be here?
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to table ordinance 1 and ordinance 2.
So moved.
Moved and then seconded. Any discussion?
Yep.
Yep.
Are those on the road business?
Yes, ordinance 1 and 2. We had the first reading last month. All set?
Yep.
Okay. Is that who the roll call vote? Can you show of hands on table? Show of hands on table, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All in favor of tabling ordinance 1 and 2, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you.
We now move on to order number 7, 2019. An order providing for the acceptance of a labor contract between Winslow Full-Time Police Officers Union and the Town of Winslow. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town of Winslow, through its town manager, has negotiated a labor contract for the Winslow Full-Time Police Officers Union as attached hereto. And whereas the Town Council, the Town Council recognizes its responsibility to provide a fair and equitable labor agreement for its police personnel. And whereas both the town manager and the association have reached an agreement, now, therefore, be it ordered that the attached labor agreement is adopted by the town council effective July 1st, 2019, and remains in effect until June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. We all set? Okay, well,
Roll call. Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
yes.
Jerry Corrigan.
Yes,
Patricia West.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes. And we will move on to order number 8, 2019. An order providing for an increase in the sewer flow rate charge for the public sewer users. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town Council desires to keep the sewer system self-sustaining by collecting sufficient fees from users to cover the operating costs and capital improvement expenditures, and whereas the town recommends that the sewer rate charge be increased by $1.50 to help the needed sewer capital improvement projects. Now therefore be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow that the flow rate charge for the use of the public sewer system be increased from $3 per 100 square cubic feet to $4.50 per 100 cubic feet. Be it further ordered that the increase shall take effect July 1st, 2019.
so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. Yes, sir.
How is the new system with the 2 persons, or 2 men, or 2
Personnel increase, you mean?
personnel increase working out on the sewer side of this?
And from what I understand from the Public Works Director, it's actually working out fairly well. They're becoming more familiar with the piece of equipment, and we're getting to the point where we can inspect more pipes to look at the condition of our system.
How is it coming along? Are they finding more problems than what was expected?
I'd have to have the Public Works Director comment on that.
We're kind of careful what you wish for, because every time we look at something, we're finding problems, but at least we're finding them. I mean, we've been out on Victor Terrace now for 4 days. We finally got up to the top of the street because we kept hitting root balls, which if we wouldn't have looked, we wouldn't know, and it's a work in progress. The guys are getting used to the truck and the camera, and they're getting used to doing what they're doing, so it's stuff we need to know, so.
And, excuse
Go
me,
ahead,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman, and the fact that they found the root balls means that we don't have a backup.
Right.
So they're doing preventive maintenance on the system, so that's.
So you're able to remove those root balls, and then the
We are.
system works
We
the
are.
way it's supposed to.
We're getting most of them, and that's the trick that they're using, getting used to running the piece of equipment. We've got most of the equipment, we need to take them out. It's just experience they need to have to how to manipulate it, and then with the camera, we can go in and see, the success. Unfortunately, this line, normally we can get in from the opposite direction with the camera and actually kind of see what's happening, but unfortunately, this line doesn't have a manhole at the end of the line, so there's only one point of access, so.
Are we looking at installing a manhole at the end of the line?
Possibly as we find these. Usually I don't like to have 200-foot runs without a manhole at the end for access for a second, because the other night we actually got stuck in there with a nozzle, and a lot of times if you're stuck, you can go back to the other end and take the nozzle off. Well, this time we couldn't because there was no other end, so it took them an hour to get out, but we get out, so.
Yes, Raymond.
Oh, are these active lines?
They're all active lines.
Yeah. That raises a lot of questions to me that I don't want to ask.
Well, we get into that line because we had a gentleman at the top of the street that he thought he had concerns. Come to find out today, he really doesn't have a concern. But as we were trying to access that section of the line, it's, there was like 4 inches of sand in the bottom of the line.
Yeah.
And as far as my foreman's concerned, we've never been in that line, so there's a lot of that in town. So it's going to take us a while to get on top of it. 4 or 5 years when we get through the whole system. But that's what we're trying to find is the problem areas and try to avoid backups and where we have water coming in.
Any questions?
Well,
Ken?
the question I had, but I think I just heard the answer, Mr. Chairman. Going forward, have you laid out a plan as to, the expected timeline as to how long it's gonna take to?
I'm figuring probably 4 or 5 years. We get about 30 miles of pipe.
Okay,
So if we can do, our insurance company would like us to do about 20% a year, which is 5-6 miles of
Okay.
pipe on top of what we normally do as far, we have areas that we clean twice a year because they're known problem areas. And then we also get into storm drains that are totally separate from the sewer line, so it's,
Okay.
and we're restricted on weather when it gets, below freezing, obviously,
Right,
there's not
exactly.
so much we can do, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Another question, a comment. That one was in front of one of my houses.
So can I send you the bill?
Send me the bill. Try to collect it.
You heard him. You heard him.
I will. No, it's like I say, it's gonna be a progress, and the guys are getting used to it, and they're a little apprehensive sometimes, and we kinda have to encourage them, and, if they do something that probably wasn't 100% right, then we try to encourage them. Tomorrow, we're actually having confined space training through Maine Workplace for all my guys, so at least these guys will know what to do if they have to go down in the structure, and how to be safe, and
Thank you. Any further questions on order number 8, 2019? If not, we'll have is that a roll call?
It is.
Roll call vote, please.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Query.
Yes.
Patricia West.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes. My apologies, I said order 9, that was order 8 we just voted on. But I had it right at the beginning. Now we move on to order 9, 2019. Do I use the new figures, or do we have to have an amendment?
Yeah, so I'd appreciate if somebody would make an amendment.
Do you want to do it as one amendment, or do each one individually?
You could do it in one amendment.
Okay.
All the numbers, the strike through, and then the new ones, right? And then I would read the new ones, right?
Right.
Okay.
If you want, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I've made some notes here, so hopefully I'll get them right.
Okay.
On page 1, I move to amend the FY '20 budget by the amount of $25,089,660 should be raised and appropriated. So that's making the adjustments that Mike has put in.
Yep.
On page 1 and 2, I move to amend that the school committee be authorized to expend $16,275,873 for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019. And that's to reflect the changes the school board made at their last meeting on insurance. Page 2, I move to amend the appropriation for the Kennebec County tax to I might have that number wrong. Is it 630, Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
630, 538?
That's it.
Yep.
And on page 2, I move to amend appropriations to $13,087,181, and that's to make the math work with the reduced expenditures. And page 2, I move to amend net appropriations to $12,173,181.
So that's the proposed amendment. Is there a second?
Second?
Moved in second. All in favor of the proposed amendment to order number 9?
Roll call is Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Patricia West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Order number 9, 2019 as amended. An order providing for approval of the Town of Winslow 2019-2020 fiscal budget series in the amount of $25,089,660 and to establish a tax due date and insert an interest rate on taxes remaining unpaid. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows, that the amount of $25,889,660 shall be raised and appropriated for the period of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, and that estimated dedicated and educational revenues of $8,267,409 shall be used in reducing the tax commitment. Entertain a motion. Second?
A second.
Moved and seconded on order number 9, 2019. It is now open for discussion.
On the education revenue, does that include $2,600 for sewer fees and $22,000 for a second bus?
Yes.
Any further questions? Ken?
It is not really a question, it is just a comment. I was just looking at this over the last couple of days, and this increase from FY19, and we all know the reasons why, but it is $1,377,660, which is a 5.81% increase. And as you go down through the budget, the good news is we intentionally did these things. It's not like by chance, you know, like I think it's important to recognize that we're increasing on the municipal side, we're increasing expenditures by $524,064. And the largest portion of that is the increase in the fire department staffing, and we all know why we needed to do that. The next big piece is insurance and pensions, and then we did put more money into capital. So if you look at those three items, they are the major components. The sewer department, we've talked about that. That's really the bond that we took out, and that we have to make the debt service. And the education department, we spent a lot of time, and thanks to the education team for getting that budget put together. And we understand one of the biggest, well, the majority of that increase of $702,000 is the debt service payment. And then besides that is the contractual obligations. So it's a lot of money. It's one of the biggest increases that we've ever had in the last 8 years, but fortunately, I think we've been able to minimize the mill rate impact. And fortunately, we've got surplus, hopefully we're gonna have surplus, that we can now apply to that increase without putting it all back directly on the property taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Any further comments? Yes.
Yeah, through the town manager, through the chair, on this budget, what is the mill rate proposed increase?
So,
We won't know until August, the actual mill rate.
0.67.
right, that's, yes.
The increase is 0.6,
0.67.
just over half a mil increase.
Yep.
Two-thirds of the mill.
Now, hopefully the legislature will give us more money.
Yes.
Right.
And, you know, if I could, Mr. Chairman, just to make one more comment, if we had not applied the fund balance, the increase would have been 2 mils.
Any further comments or questions? We all set for a vote? Go ahead, please.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Kurian,
Yes,
Patricia West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Continuing with old business, we move on to order number 10, 2019. An order providing for authorization for the reclaiming, grading, and repaving of Benton Avenue from the Roderick Road to the Benton Town Line at a total cost not to exceed $1,200,000. Be it ordered by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows. Benton Avenue is in need of being repaved, whereas the project is an MPI and MDOT has agreed to contribute up to $500,000 towards the project. And whereas the Public Works Director is estimating the project will cost $1.1 million. Now, therefore, be it ordered by Town Council, Town of Winslow, that authorization is given for the reclaiming, grading, and repaving of Benton Avenue from the Roderick Road to the Benton Town Line at a total cost not to exceed $1.2 million, and be it further ordered that the project will be funded from the street and roads capital account.
so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Yep.
Go ahead.
What is an MPI? I know what it is, but
Municipal,
Is this a test question,
municipal,
So it's a main DOT program, and it's a municipal partnership initiative.
Does the state have inspectors on these jobs?
I don't believe so, no. Their expectation is that we do the project.
Okay, and one other question, what do we have for specs on this job?
For what, for specs?
Yeah.
We use MDOT specs, our engineers out of James Sewer Company.
Okay, so what do they pave at feet per minute?
How's that?
The paving, how many feet per minute are they allowed to pave?
I have no idea.
any further questions on order number 10?
Yes, if I could, Mr.
Yes, go
Chairman,
ahead.
just for clarification, is this a state road or is this
Yes.
State aid road.
State aid road, yes.
Okay. Historically, if we didn't have the MPI, would the state have paid for the whole thing? No,
They wouldn't have done it at all.
they wouldn't have done it.
They like
Okay.
everybody else, they have no money, so this is their easy way out. They basically say, we'll give you up to $500,000. When you're done, let us know, we'll send you a check.
Okay,
Sign off that it'll last at least 10 years. And this is their easy way of trying to get some of these done that they wouldn't be able to otherwise.
okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? You all set? Go ahead, please.
Jeff West,
No.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes,
Jerry Kurian.
Yes.
Patricia West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. We now move on to new business. Begin with ordinance number 3, 2019. An ordinance providing for an amendment to Chapter 4 of the Winslow Town Code titled Building and Plumbing by adding the underlined language and deleting the strike-through language in the attached document. Be ordained by the Town Council of Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town Manager and the Code Enforcement Officer are recommended that Article 3 Electrical Code 4-8 Electrical Code adopted be added to the zoning ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow, Maine, that Chapter 4 of the Winslow Town Code titled Building and Plumbing be added by adding the underlined language and deleting the strike-through language in the attached document. What is your pleasure?
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Yeah, Mr.
go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So currently, our electrical inspector doesn't have the authority to inspect, and so this is going to give him that authority to do electrical inspections.
Because, Mr. Chairman, because we didn't have a code?
Correct.
Okay, so this is putting a code in, not to replace the one we had,
Right.
but because we didn't have
Have
it.
Didn't have it.
Okay, thank you.
Have we had any issues?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Any
I
further
noticed
questions? Go
a
ahead.
qualified electrical standard professional, but it didn't say he had to be electrical engineer or anything, just a qualified, like, what's the qualifications for that person?
Is Adam here? What are your qualifications?
Experience, general experience is all they ask for. There is no certification for
Doesn't
that.
it? So you just gotta know the codes, you gotta know how to apply them,
Yeah,
so,
basic knowledge is pretty much all that's
okay.
required.
So you, Adam, you go out and you inspect the electrical process, you don't need to have if it's over, say, not that it would be, but say it's something that you're unfamiliar with in some of these industrial settings, and would you call that engineer in to take a look at it?
The state has state inspectors that I have contact with.
Okay.
And they'll come in anytime I have a question.
Yeah, and utilize them obviously at
Yep.
certain times, okay.
Go ahead.
So who's our electrical inspector right now?
We're using our code enforcement officer.
Okay.
Any further discussion on ordinance number 3? If not, we'll have a vote.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Kurian.
Yes.
Patricia West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes. Moving on, ordinance number 4, 2019. An ordinance providing for an amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone the entire lot owned by the town of Winslow on tax map 10, lot 18A, Benton Avenue, from the mixed-use zone to a contract zoned mixed use. Be it ordained by Town Council of Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the town of Winslow wishes to sell a portion, was this the one we were gonna table?
No.
No, okay, I'm sorry. Whereas the town of Winslow wishes to sell a portion of its building and land located on tax map 10, lot 18A, and whereas the division would create 2 non-conforming lots, now therefore be it ordained by the town council that such property owned by the town of Winslow on tax map 10, lot 18A, Benton Avenue, be rezoned from the mixed-use zone to the contract-zoned mixed use, and be it further ordained that the side setback requirement equals 0 feet. All other requirements of the mixed-use zone remain in effect. Be it further ordained that the portion of the building connecting the lots is to be removed no later than July 30th, 2022, and the property will transfer back to the mixed-use zone.
So move.
Moved,
Second.
moved and seconded.
Mr.
Open for
Chairman.
discussion. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So this ordinance is, depends on ordinance number 1 being passed. So if after the workshop on contract zoning, if you decide not to do that, then obviously this one wouldn't happen.
We would just fail this on the second reading if we decide not to do the contract.
Right.
Okay, that was my confusion.
And if I could, Mr. Chairman, we've done a little bit of research. My original thought is we could just go to the zoning board, ask for a variance. The issue is we would have to show hardship. And according to our town attorney, we couldn't prove that we were in hardship because somebody would say, well, you can just continue to lease it, you don't need to sell it.
Yep.
So that became the issue, that we really, this is, I say, a relatively easy thing, there is, the distance between the two buildings are fine.
Right.
It's just that easement corridor, and we can't take that out because Orion still needs to access that portion. So this is, after we discussed it, this is about the only thing we can do to do it consciously and deliberately.
No matter how creative we got.
No matter how creative we're trying to be, right, Jeff?
Any further comments?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
On anything like this next time, do we have a map attached? No, luckily I know where it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give you a map if you know where it was.
Are we done with discussion? Anybody else? You all set?
I am.
Go ahead.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Cronin.
Yes.
Patricia West. Yes. Steve Russell.
Yes. Now we move on to ordinance number 5, 2019, an ordinance providing for amendment to the Winslow zoning map to rezone the following lots on tax map 1, lot 25G through lot 130, as they border the Augusta Road, from the low-density residential zone to the mixed-use zone. Lot numbers including the following: 25G, 25F, 17A, 17J, 128, 126, 127, 125, 129, 124, 123, and 130. Be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows: whereas the Planning Board voted to recommend that the following lots on tax map 1, lot 25G through 130 be rezoned to the mixed-use zone. Therefore, be it ordained by the Town Council that such properties on tax map 1, lot 25G through 130, as they border the Augusta Road, be rezoned from low-density residential zone to the mixed-use zone.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. You all have a map showing those lots.
To recuse myself from voting because I own 25G.
25G, okay. Any further discussion?
Could just, the reason why, I believe I know, but I wonder if Adam could just state why we're changing the zoning on it?
Might be better for the planning board that you made the suggestion. I will if you want, if you have more questions.
I can do it. Essentially, what we've got is an area of the town that's become more and more business-oriented as opposed to low-density residential. The planning board felt that that area from the, including all of those lots, should be zoned in the multi-use, mixed-use district to allow for that without having to go in and change each and every lot as somebody decides they want to change the use. And that's essentially why the planning board adopted that.
And for those who don't know, that's pretty much from Carter Drive, just past.
Yes, well, it already is from Carter Drive up to,
Good Rose?
I'm not sure.
It's where the Cape is across the street
Right.
from my business.
Yeah.
That's the start, that's 25G.
Okay.
18 acres.
25H is already
Right.
in that zone.
You go,
It was changed.
you go down over the hill and back up the hill and
Yep.
up by where, all of the work is done, business stuff is there, so.
I would assume all the lot owners have been notified of the proposed change. They get notice, do they?
No, they'll be done before the second reading.
Before the second reading, so we should have a public hearing and a second reading on this and let the property owners know, right? Okay.
And a butter.
And the butters. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes. We will move on to ordinance number 6, 2019. An ordinance providing for an amendment to Chapter 5, Article 5 of the Winslow Town Code, titled Itinerant Vendors, by adding the underlined language and deleting the strike-through language in the attached section. Be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town Manager and Code Enforcement Officer are recommended that 5-23 definitions be amended to include year-round itinerant vendors. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow, Maine, that Chapter 5, Article 5 of the Winslow Town Code, titled Itinerant Vendors, be amended by adding the underlined language and deleting the strike-through language in the attached section.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
so currently, itinerant vendors can operate from 3 to 6 months. We do have at least one vendor that I'm aware of that operates or would like to operate year-round, but they only are open on the weekends, so they're not continuous. So by making it 180 days of non-continuous, it comes out to approximate same number of days if you're open 6 months continuous. So that's why we're proposing that addition.
Ken?
Yes, and this would go before the planning board.
No.
The application?
Oh, yes, yes. Yes.
So in fact, the planning board could review that to make
It's
sure.
already come to the planning board for our approval.
Okay.
That's why it's here.
But does you're asking if the vendor has to go, is that what you're asking, or
Well,
this, or you?
The other itinerant vendor,
Yes.
the CEO could give the permit.
Okay,
This classification, if I'm right, this classification actually is before the planning board.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Maybe I'm reading it wrong. There is another itinerant vendor, I think it's called seasonal or something.
Yes.
Vendor.
6 months.
And that one, actually, the code enforcement officer gives the permit.
From 8 days to 60 days.
Yes.
right.
Whereas this one actually goes before the planning board
Yeah.
As a conditional use.
as a condition.
As a conditional use, okay.
So it will get reviewed to make sure there's a good understanding of what
What's
the
expected.
business
Yeah.
is, so to speak.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, oh,
One
okay.
question. Is this gonna have to be done every year? No, that's all I needed to know.
Ready for roll call?
Yes, I guess. so.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
Yes.
Patricia West. Yes. Steve Russell.
Yes. Moving on to order number 11, 2019. An order providing for authorization of the town manager to sign the attached purchase and sale agreement with Johnny's Selected Seeds, which authorizes the sale of a portion of the town property to Johnny's Selected Seeds for $1.65 million. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town of Winslow owns property identified on Tax Map 10, Lot 18A, that consists of a large industrial building currently being leased by Johnny's Selected Seeds and Orion Rope Works. And whereas the town wishes to sell 10.7 acres of the land and that portion of the building that sits on the 10.7 acres to Johnny's Selected Seeds, as depicted in the attached diagram and property description. Now, therefore, be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow that the town manager is hereby authorized to sign the attached sale and purchase agreement with Johnny's Selected Seeds, which authorizes the sale of a portion of town property to Johnny's Selected Seeds for $1.65 million.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion. Go ahead.
So, when you authorize me to sign this, the clock starts ticking, right, on the closing date. So, if the council wanted to waive the second reading and conduct and authorize me tonight to sign it, I could do that tomorrow.
You know, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to waive the second reading. And if it is, if that does receive a second, I'll speak to the logic of it.
Second.
My only question, Ken, is do we pass this first and then waive the second reading?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do.
Yeah, so maybe we should vote on this first and then you
Yes.
propose that, is that okay?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Any further discussion there?
I'd like to just thank Councilor Fletcher and Councilor Jeff West and Town Manager, Mr. Heavener, for their work and doing a lot of work for this project. I know it was at times difficult to get through some of the stuff, and just to thank you very much for your effort.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else?
So,
Jerry, go ahead.
First reading.
So what's left on Orion's rope? What are they gonna pay us?
As far as,
They're not buying it, I know, but for lease.
yeah, so I've already sent them the information on what we're gonna have to amend our existing lease. And so they're aware of that, and at this point, they're agreeable to that.
How much would that be?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Approximately, because we'll have to
Yeah.
amend the lease and reach an agreement, it'll be about $239,000 a year, as opposed to $313,000 plus currently.
Because we're selling some portion that they're leasing currently,
Right.
right? Yes. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, we will now vote on order number 11, 2019.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes.
And then now to waive the
Yeah.
second reading?
Yeah, for good, Mr. Chairman, I move to waive the second reading again. Thank you.
You second again, Trish?
And,
Been moved and seconded, now it's open for discussion.
no, because, Mr. Chairman,
Go
I'll
ahead.
try to explain my logic. Jeff, myself, Mike, has really spent a lot of time on this. So we've gone through iteration after iteration, had the lawyers involved in the purchase and sales agreement. So in the interest of time and moving forward, I move that we waive that second reading and let us proceed to sign the purchase and sales agreement, which still is gonna require 70 days before closing.
Any further discussion?
Any public comment? Can we allow any public comment if there's
Yeah,
any?
I suppose we could, if it's, especially if we're gonna vote to waive the second reading. Right, is that what you're
That's
suggesting?
all I was getting at.
Yeah.
Is there somebody in the audience who would like to make a public comment on the sale? If not, we'll vote on the proposed amendment.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
No. We will move on to order number 12, 2019, providing for authorization for the town manager to build a 4-bay cold storage garage at cost not to exceed $150,000. Be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the sewer department needs a cold storage garage with 4 bays and measuring 44 feet by 80 feet, and whereas there will be sufficient funds in the sewer capital line item after June 30th, 2019. Now, therefore, be it ordered by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow, the town manager is hereby authorized to build a 4-bay cold storage garage at a cost not to exceed $150,000.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, and I'd put some questions in around this project, and, you know, if it's okay, I'll just ask them now, and then Mike and Paul. Have we received any competitive bids on this project?
We have on materials, electrical, garage doors, I'm dealing with our normal vendor, PDQ, which is the company we usually repair our doors with, so. And I've got one quote on the construction of it, and I've got another contractor this morning that finally showed up that was interested in giving us a price. There's not a lot of contractors in this general area that want to get into a building that size. And the one that I've been speaking to is out of Augusta. He built the community center across the street from us last year at the Halifax Crossings, and he's put up about 4 of these buildings for MDOT. He's got one in Fairfield, so he's very well qualified. his quote is around 79,000 for concrete, and the rest of the erection and all materials are coming out of McCormick's. And electrical, I get 2 electrical bids from our local contractors.
You know, the reason I asked the question, you know, I went back and looked. We started talking about this actually back in 2018, I think. I can find it. And at that time, I think the estimate, and I realized it was an estimate, was 80,000. In the sewer capital 4-bay storage that we did during the budget discussions, it was 100,000. Now we're talking 150,000. Why has that changed? You know, I mean, it's
My $100,000 estimate was an estimate, and I really hadn't gotten a whole lot of price quotes as far as erection, because the few contractors I talked to, most of them didn't want to really get into it, and I hate sometimes to bother these contractors and put all prices and spend a lot of time. I didn't really have a plan at the time. I waited till I had somebody draw up a plan. I mean, that's on me, and I think the busy construction season right now, with the way everything is driving prices up, so.
I could ask one more. Refresh my memory, how much was the sewer bond? Was that 500,000?
Yes.
Yes, that was for the truck and the camera.
Yes.
Well, as a capitals, I'm looking at what we talked about in the budget discussions, and there was a capital sewer, and there were actually 5 items.
Oh, right.
And they totaled just about 500,000.
With this year's $200,000 allocation, we'll have about $579 in that account.
Right, so I guess my question is, if we originally thought it was gonna cost 100,000, but now we're talking about 150, how do we make up the difference if we've only got 500,000?
There may be some on the capital that may not get done this year, and that was a wishful list. I don't know if we'll get to all those this year. A couple of the pump stations, we may get one done this year, because with the kind of the competitive market right now with the earthwork contractors, I hate to go out and commit too much earthwork until things kind of slow down. One pump station for sure needs to be upgraded. It's a maintenance thing. We're trying to upgrade them as we go. I mean, we can downsize, but
Well,
it's
goodness,
hard.
Chairman, I guess I'm a little bit confused. I thought we had priorities that we were gonna do this year. And those were, there were 5 projects. And I'm not sure where the coal-based storage fits into those priorities.
Well, it's a pretty high priority. We got a $400,000 truck that can't freeze in the wintertime, and I don't have room in my building to keep it warm.
Right, but we should have known that when we bought the $400,000 truck, that part of that is we're gonna have to build a building to put it in. And I'm concerned that, number one, we haven't gone out and really, it doesn't sound like, and I may be judging this incorrectly, and I'm not comfortable that we've got competitive bids and know that's a competitive price, and I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna do any of these other projects, because I think we're gonna run out of money. Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So currently in the sewer capital, we have 397,000. We're gonna, and the budget calls for an additional 200,000, so that's gonna give us 597,000. With what's being proposed, Ken, as you pointed out, what's listed in the capital sewer comes to 504,000. So we should, even if we have to pay a little bit more for that storage shed, we still should. We'll have the money. We'll still have the money to.
Yeah, because number 6 was the generator, but we're getting reimbursed on that one, correct?
We've already been reimbursed on that.
Okay, so we take that right out of the equation, you're at the 504.
Right. But I'm still concerned because have we any of these other 4 projects estimated or got any idea on?
I haven't gone into the engineering yet. We're trying to finish up what we've already got committed on these road projects that we're using some of the same engineers.
I would just feel more comfortable if we could have some more discussions about those capital projects, because we're raising the sewer rates pretty significantly, and part of that justification was to pay for the $400,000 truck, but also to be doing some of this work. And I certainly would suggest that if we gotta replace the Clinton Avenue pump station, or replace the Verde Drive, or engineer for Chaffee Brook upgrade, and new controls, you know, I mean, it sounds like there's some critical infrastructure that we need to do. And I went back and looked at the capital plan for the sewers, and those tend to be priority projects. So what would happen if we just tabled this for 1 month to give ourselves some conversation?
I'm just trying to stay on top of it, because especially the material prices, they're not gonna hold the price on materials for too much longer. I've already had the quotes for a couple months, and, you know, I mean, we can expect a price increase on materials, because they're not holding prices. And if we make a commitment on the materials soon, they'll hold the price they made, but, you know, it's a steel covered building, you know, the price of steel is going right now. The wood's probably not gonna change.
Maybe a compromise, Ken, would be, is there a second reading on this?
Yes.
On an order, so maybe we could have a month and have a workshop between now and then, and either table it then, or vote it down then, one or the other, at the second reading. Does that make sense?
Well, we could, but I just wanna make sure that when we have that workshop between now and the second reading, we can logically look at these projects and figure out how it all fits.
Yeah.
Because when I went back and looked, it's gone from 80 to 100 to 150.
Yeah.
I kind of raised the flag, saying, you know, we might want to think about that a little bit.
Right, Raymond.
One thing that would help me in voting on this tonight is I would like to see a schematic of the building, some of the specifications a little more detailed. Also placement at the Public Works garage, or where it is, and so I think we can do that before the second reading, but that would be helpful, Paul.
I mean, I've got schematics here if you want to see them.
Well,
But it's just.
kind of like tonight's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I've gotten from McCormick. McCormick drew this up for us.
Yeah.
You know, and they've got the framing and everything else.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, we're gonna have to pay an engineer, and it's gonna cost us some money too, so.
Yep, I know there was minimum lighting, and I know you did everything, but I just wanna, if we had
that's
any
fine.
questions about the security of the building or something, we would be able to ask as that goes.
That's fine. I will keep looking for contractors, but if you guys know anybody.
No, we have to wait for 2 readings anyway, right? So
I've
we
got
got
one more
time.
quote coming that I spoke to the gentleman this morning, and most of the local ones I've spoken to that I'm familiar with don't want to tackle this.
But if we vote for it tonight, we have plenty of time for the second
Have a
reading. We
workshop.
can't start till the second reading anyway.
Right. Go ahead.
And we're looking at doing a workshop,
Yes. It's on the-
so Paul could bring a lot of this information at that workshop.
We would want that before the second reading.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
You know, for goodness, Chairman, I'd like to see the specs, performance criteria around this structure. I always think that something bad's gonna happen. And if we're piecemealing it out, who is gonna be accountable if it doesn't go right? You know, I mean, I'm a little bit uncomfortable just, I'll go out and start to build my shed by myself and figure it out, but I think a project of 150,000, we ought to have it spec'd, and we ought to have a pretty clear performance contract, and so that if something doesn't work, we know who's gonna be held accountable. That's my thought.
Who's going to inspect the construction?
Right here, there's a whole group of things.
There's a lot more.
There's a lot more that you gotta have. It's a house. We're spending $150,000, which is not a big house, but you just wouldn't go out and hire anybody to do it. You would wanna have a contract. To me.
One other thing is, there gonna be power in this building.
Well, we got a licensed electrician, we've got, the slab is designed to meet the codes, it's insulated. It's not a complicated construction.
So,
Go ahead.
if I might, Mike, you're gonna schedule a workshop
Yes.
for this, with capital and all the other information that we need?
At the end of this meeting, we'll do that.
Okay, sounds good, so.
Do we want to continue then with the voting on the first
Yeah,
reading? Is there any
sure.
more
Yeah,
questions or
yeah, I'm fine.
discussion?
That is-
Okay.
Jeff
Any other
West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry Kurian?
Yes.
Patricia West?
Yes.
And Steve
Yes.
Russell?
Moving on to order number 13, 2019. An order providing for authorization of town manager to enter into a 2-year PSAP call handling agreement with Somerset County Communications Center. Be it ordered by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the town's in need of formalizing an agreement with a public safety answering point, PSAP, that can answer all the town's 911 calls and can transfer those calls to the Waterville Regional Communications Center. And whereas the Somerset County Communications Center has been providing the required PSAP services to the town at a reasonable cost. Now, therefore, be it ordered the Town Council, Town of Winslow, the town manager is hereby authorized to sign the attached 2-year PSAP call handling agreement with the Somerset County Communications Center.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. Open for discussion.
They still and have been providing us with PSAP services for actually a number of years now.
Any changes in from the old contract to the new?
The
or-
only change would be the cost. I think it went up a couple hundred dollars.
Now, there was talk about having them take over everything at one point by somebody. Is that still an option we're looking into?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No. Somerset is not taking anybody any longer.
Okay.
They're also, kicked out the city of Augusta for the 911. Because along with other communication centers, they just cannot fill, their slots, and they're overwhelmed now. So they're not taking any more new contracts. They're maintaining theirs, and they kicked out, Augusta PD.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
Any further comments, questions? If not, we'll have a vote.
Jeff West?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Kurian? Patricia West?
Yes.
Steve Russell?
Yes. Resolution 17, 2019, a resolution providing for application for a restaurant license, class 1, 2, 3, 4, liquor license renewal by Asian Cafe, 53 Bay Street, Winslow, Maine. What is your pleasure?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. You all set? Raising the hand, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Resolution 18, 2019, providing for the acceptance of forfeiture assets obtained by the Kennebec County District Attorney's Office. Be it resolved by Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the state of Maine, through Superior Court Civil Action Docket Number KENCD-CR 1838, has acquired funds that were forfeited by the court. And whereas under 15 MRSA 58243, 58244A, approval must be received from the municipal legislative body before any funds can be transferred back to that municipality. And whereas the town is expected to receive a sum of $411. Now, therefore, be resolved the Town Council, Town of Winslow hereby approves the transfer of the defendant in rem or any portion thereof pursuant to 15 MRSA 582.3 and 582.66 to the treasurer of the Town of Winslow for the purpose of use within the Winslow Police Department.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Resolution 19, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization for the town manager to transfer $16,000 from the street opening 1,305,0113 account to the Public Works Capital Equipment 2300303-53907 account for the purchase of a pavement grinder attachment. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the PW is in need of a pavement grinder attachment for the sidewalk machine, and whereas there is currently insufficient funds in the PW capital equipment account. Therefore, be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow, the town manager is hereby authorized to transfer $16,000 from the street opening account to the Public Works capital equipment account for the purchase of a pavement grinder attachment.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion. Ken.
Good, Mr. Chairman. What's the frequency of us using a pavement grinder No, I know it can vary from year to year, depending on projects, but how often do we use one?
We could use it all summer long when we're doing pothole patching, like we did one last year, we did a lot of Monument Street, some on Halifax. We rented a machine for a month, cost us about $4,000 a month to get one.
Right.
And sometimes it puts us in a bind, because now that we have it, we gotta do it this month, and if the weather's not good or something else comes up, the machine sits and we're paying for nothing. We never really looked at it in the past, we didn't have a machine that could handle one. The new sidewalk machines get the hydraulics that we can run the pavement grinder, so it's a useful tool to have. It was on my capital list this year in request, which we basically put aside because we would only get the $80,000.
Right.
So in looking, this article is the money that's left over from the contractors when they do street opening permits, the 10% that we keep and the $75 permit fee, and that money basically stays there. It never goes back into a general fund or anything else. So I thought it was a good place to get some money because a lot of these places we grind are trenches from 2-3 years ago when the contractor's trenches have settled, and we have to go back and shim them up, so.
No, if I could, Mike.
Go ahead.
What have we used that account for in the past?
We haven't,
So it just keeps piling up
right.
until Paul finds it.
Paul finds a use for it.
Until Paul sees it.
Okay, so it's just a place to hold money?
Correct.
Okay, it's not for any other use?
No, not designated for any other use.
And a lot of the money in it right now came from the water district when they did Clinton Avenue 2 years ago.
Right. This is
They
fees
paid,
paid.
they paid the 10% that we kept.
You know, if I get it, go ahead.
No, it's a different question that I'd like to ask Paul after, but.
Help me with the Public Works capital budget. And I might have it wrong again, but according to, right now, as of the end of this month, there was $3,785 in the Public Works.
Correct.
We're gonna put, I believe, 80,000 in the budget this year, so we've got 83. And then I look at the list. It looks like the equipment list, capital request for Public Works, seems to add up to $500,000.
Correct. And we budgeted, when Mike and I sat down this year, we agreed on 80,000 for this year, that's all we're gonna go forward. That will replace the 1 ton that we have and hopefully the bucket for our front end loader. And that's basically all we're gonna get this year.
But there were 5 items on the capital request, which add up to
Wasn't that a wish list?
$332,500. So, like for example, replace the 2006 F-550 1-ton sander and plow. That was $100,000. Are we gonna have to do that?
That's part of that 80,000. We paid about 65 last year for the one that we bought, so I'm pretty confident we can do that in the 80,000.
And then replace the 2003 Volvo wheel dumper and sander and plow for $200,000?
Yeah, that's not gonna happen this year.
We don't need to do it.
We do, but not this year. Obviously, we don't have the money for it this year.
Mr. Chairman, if I could explain. So when Paul came in, he came in with a wish list of things that he would like to replace. And he and I sat down and talked and ultimately ended up agreeing that, okay, what really needs to be done is we could do it for about 80,000. So the 2 things that he wants to do is replace the 1 ton. He's hoping he can get that for about 65,000. And the other item is a bucket, replace the bucket on the John Deere, 2003 John Deere for 7,500. So those are the 2 things.
That we financed this year.
Right,
We're gonna pay for this year.
yes.
And we will use everything. We will use all the money.
Pretty darn close.
Pretty close, yeah.
Because 65 for the 1 ton is depending on what we get for a trade-in too. We did fairly well last year on the trade-in.
Would it be, I'm thinking out loud, but would it be wise, rather than to spend the 16 or the 15 for an asphalt cold planer, to actually wait and see what we, because if we do need to replace the 1 ton, and we need to replace the bucket. Sounds like those are higher priorities because we really don't have an option. Whereas if we absolutely needed to have a planer, an asphalt planer, we could rent one, right? If we absolutely needed one,
Right.
rather than spend the 15 before we know that we've got enough for the other two. You see what I'm saying?
In case you have an overrun on the other
Yeah.
two that adding up to more than 80.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
may,
go ahead.
Paul, is that something we rent yearly?
We've been getting some fairly yearly. They're not always available. This is part of the issue. They come, most of our dealer out of Bangor. Sometimes he has some, sometimes he doesn't, which is why we usually get them early in July, because if we don't reserve one ahead of time, they're pretty well gone for the summer. They're not, they don't have 10 of them sitting in the lot. They only have a couple. They sell them on a regular basis, but as far as rentals, it's not something that, it's a high wear item, so they don't rent too many of them. They know we don't kill them like a contractor would, but.
But we've
Just
never
so
had one before. We've always rented, right?
We've rented a couple of years. Like I said, we never had a machine that could run one.
Right.
We do now, so I'm just trying to be more productive, and we patch, like I said, we can grind it and pave it. It holds up a lot better than the cold mix we're putting down.
It would seem to me that the time between paving roads is getting bigger and bigger, so the need to repair roads and potholes and to do it in an efficient manner would be, and since it's 16,000, you're paying 4,000 a year, your payback is really 4 years. And if you
Especially
get
for
increased
the
use
one
of
month.
it for the roads and maintaining of the roads in Winslow, seems so that would be
We did a good patch on Monument last year where we had a lot of potholes. We ground them, we paved them. They've held up good. So it's trying to prolong our patching until we have a chance to go back and overlay. And like I said, I'm just trying to
How
be
much
more
is,
productive.
I'm sorry, Paul. How much is in that account now?
24, I think, and change. We can't take it all because we still have contractors that need to be reimbursed
Right.
for some of their paving, but most of the money's been reimbursed. There's only a couple, 3-4 projects out there.
But the public works equipment balance, as of the end of the month, was $3,785. And we're gonna put 80 in, plus move 16 from roads, which will give us just about 100,000,
99 and change.
right? And yet, we wanna need to replace that truck, which is listed at 100,000, maybe it's not that much. I'm just afraid that we're gonna get to the end
Right.
and run out of money, just like we did this year. Because we ran that all the way down and we increased it to 80. I'm just concerned that we're buying pieces before we really understand if we're gonna have enough money. Because I don't know where we're gonna get more money. That's a concern. Would this be something we could include in that workshop?
Yes.
And to really look at the total capital needs
Yep.
and what we really need and try to make sure that those funds are there. And I'm talking sewer, public works, I want to add storm drains.
Right.
Look at all of that, if we could.
And since this is a resolution, it does not require a second reading, correct?
Right.
And so would you propose that we table this?
I
Have
would
the
table it
workshop.
until we have the workshop, and then we can always get it next month.
And then get it next month?
That's my motion. I move to table.
Move to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to table resolution number 19. Is there any discussion? If not, go ahead.
Yeah, the only discussion I have is with the cold planer, you could start planing May, June, July, August, September, October. If we rent it, we might only have 1 month that we could use it in.
That's right.
So, I'm not saying don't table it. Let's table it, let's discuss it at the workshop and see how much money we have.
Any further discussion on tabling the motion? If not, all in favor of tabling the motion, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.
Well, if I might, through the chair, if Paul's up there, on the Cushman Road, the Vassalboro Sewer Project, I see all the pipe laying out. Would you be able to give us a small, short update on how that project's going?
As far as I know, and I really haven't, followed it too closely, but I believe they've hooked into Dunbar Road. And that's all they had was a stretch from there to, I don't know, maybe halfway to the bus garage that hadn't been done, and I believe that's mostly all done. If it's not done today, it won't be very long. And I think on the other end, they only had to cross the brook over by Bassett Road. I was told, I think they're pretty much out of Winslow.
Yeah, okay.
And they had projected to be out of here by June, and I think they're going well that way.
They went very quickly.
So it looks like the need to close the road was not really warranted?
They worked around it.
There's been no issues?
I never really heard it, no. They had some fairly long work zones here and there that were probably a little inconvenient, but they never closed it down completely. They were pretty adamant that we wanted them to keep it open, and I really haven't heard any complaints. Emergency services, they had to get through, as far as I know, they got through.
And when's the date for the start of the flow from Vassalboro?
The project needs to be done by the beginning of December, because they still have a whole lot of work in Vassalboro. They got pump stations, they've got a lot of work, but at least it looks like they'll be out of Winslow. And they've, from what I've seen, they've pretty well closed everything up. It's been cleaned up and mulched, and DOT permit they had forces them to pave every week, whatever's open, so there's not a whole lot that's being left open for very long, which for them has been a bit of a struggle, because they're paving on Fridays. It's been raining every Friday since they started, so it's kind of hard to pave, so.
Yeah.
But,
and the other question I have, Paul, is the Cedar Brook, the new storm drainage sewer that, I see they're in there leveling and removing debris.
Yep, they've hauled out all the trees that were knocked down, cut down. I don't know about hauling out the rest of their stone. They had stone left over, and they were basically cleaning up, and they should, well, it's gonna rain tomorrow, but I was gonna say they should be out of there this week.
And just, could I make a suggestion that you get with Mike at some time, just for, how do we, it's now public land, it used to be CH Vigu, we bought the land and now we own the land, and so, you can't, it's right in town, it's right on the river, public access. There are gonna be people that go onto the site, and I think we just need to talk about, what we're going to do is by the river, how we're gonna either not have people access it, or like from the road there, or what's the thing? I just think you guys should have a discussion, because if litter on the property, or how do you grade it, and how do you get, and then product, I know you mentioned at one time that you wanted to put a road in there for access to some other property.
Yeah, I'd like to construct a road that follows the sewer line and goes through there to get around the backside of Del Air Street, so we have access to our sewer line. So we've got enough material that we salvaged last year from Hollowell to do that. I'm gonna let them do their cleanup and their thing and get out of there. We gotta discuss access, because do we want people down there dumping stuff?
I just think you need to just have that conversation. If not, you're gonna have to put up something to limit the access to the property. And that's all before something happens, or before, just have that conversation, and maybe at some point in time, Mike, you can update the council as to what you feel is the proper way going forward for access, or non-access to that property.
I mean, it'd be nice if we do something green down there, to do it fairly in not too far in the future, before everything grows back up like it was, and thorns and bushes that have to be re-cleared.
Right.
They've kind of done us a favor. They cleared the whole site, and it's looking pretty good right now. So.
That's why I think you gotta have the conversation. Do we put something there so that we can have maintain it, or mow it, or bush hog it, or whatever we need to do? You just need to have that discussion as to what in the future.
Yeah, Paul and I have spoken briefly, and not in a whole lot of detail, but I do like to think we could at least have a path down to the river, so folks can go down and go fishing and recreate down there. One of the concerns that I have is, if we allow vehicles to drive down there, we're gonna end up with trash. So when Paul and I spoke, I suggested perhaps we should think about a gate near the road, but allow some space for parking.
Yeah.
So people can park there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
walk
good
around,
idea.
access it by foot.
Yeah, yeah, I think that'd be great idea.
It is a nice
I know you
spot.
guys have talked about it.
Yeah.
No, we walked the property there and, you know, it's, when you get down there, it's,
It's not quite so muddy now, so.
yeah.
Anything else, Ray?
No, that's it.
Okay. We will now move on to Resolution 20. A resolution providing for authorization of town manager to accept the attached proposal from Wright Pierce to evaluate what improvements are needed at our 45-year-old Chaffee Brook Pump Station. Be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the Chaffee Brook Pump Station is in need of improvements to help mitigate our combined sewer overflows into the river and to address times of flooding, and whereas Wright Pierce has provided the town with a proposal to evaluate the pump station at the cost of $28,800. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town Council, Town of Winslow, the town manager is hereby authorized to accept the attached proposal from Wright Pierce to evaluate what improvements are needed at our 45-year-old Chaffee Brook Pump Station.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
You know, good, Mr. Chairman, I think it's here, and I found it once. When will this be completed by?
I don't think we've actually come up with a completion date. I'm seeing this as probably the better part of a year. By the time we evaluate the pump station, and we're gonna evaluate what our line going across the river can handle, pumps. It's a long-range evaluation to try to make sure that.
So potentially a year from now, they'll come with their findings. Is it reasonable to assume that this is gonna be a relatively expensive upgrade?
It's possible.
You know, I mean, it's 45 years old.
It's possible.
You know,
And what goes along with that is a little bit, I forwarded an email from DEP this afternoon to Mike that we've submitted our 5-year master plan. Well, they also identified the thought that we probably should be adding a second line across the river for redundancy, because right now it's only a single line. And in the past, when it failed, we were in a world of hurt.
right.
And we had also thrown that out as part of this proposal to increase our pumping capacity. So they kind of mirror themselves a little bit. So no, it's going to be some serious evaluation, and it could be serious. But that's, like I say, it's 45 years old,
Right.
and it can't afford to fail.
No, that's right. And it's my understanding that we have to come in compliance with the DEP.
Yes.
Once we're in that position, it's not a decision, other than want to pay the fines, which I don't want to pay the fines. So this could potentially be.
I'm looking at it from the reliability point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Because like last summer, the generator went down, and it's so old that they had to retrofit solid state controls. The engine will probably run forever,
Right.
but the generator won't,
Right.
So it's those things that, you gotta look at, and unfortunately, we may have to spend some serious money. But I'd rather do that than do what Augusta's doing and putting in
Tank.
million-gallon storage tanks.
Right.
Which doesn't really save you anything, because we have extra pumping capacity that we can send to Waterville. We own capacity.
So if I'm understanding this right, about a year from now, we will have a better understanding.
I'm hoping by next budget season that we'll
Okay.
have something, and then we'll have to decide of how big a bite of the elephant that we want to take.
Yep.
It doesn't all have to be done at once, but.
Yep, thank you.
Jerry?
How are we paying for this?
This is coming out of the sewer capital. This was on the sewer capital list
And
this
how
year.
much are they charging us?
$28,800. My original budget was 20, but as they got into it, they realized they had a little more work to do. And they've been working with KSTD as well to know what we can do on this side to not, bother them on the other side. So we kind of have to work together. And they're working for both of us.
Any further questions, concerns? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimous. The last item is Resolution 21, 2019. A resolution providing for authorization for the town clerk, registrar of voters to notify the voters of this municipality of a budget validation referendum election for the Winslow Public Schools to be held on Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. Be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows, that a budget validation referendum election will be held at the Winslow Town Office, 114 Benton Avenue, Winslow, Maine, on Tuesday, June 11th, 2019, for the purpose of determining the following articles. Article 1, do you favor approving the Winslow public school budget for the upcoming school year that was adopted by the town council. Article 2, do you wish to continue the budget validation referendum process for the Winslow Public Schools for an additional 3 years? Whereas, voting on Articles 1 and 2 shall be by secret ballot referendum. The polls will be open from 8 a.m. and closed at 8 p.m. Whereas, the registrar of voters shall hold office hours while the polls are open to correct any error in the change a name or address on the voting list, to accept the registration of any person eligible to vote, and to accept new enrollments. Be resolved by the Town Council, Town of Winslow, the Town Clerk, Registrar of Voters is hereby authorized to notify the voters of this municipality that a budget validation referendum election for the Winslow Public Schools will be held on Tuesday, June 11th, 2019 at the Winslow Town Office. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I know that we're in compliance with the state law, and that's what it says in statute, so it's not like, but the logical question, I think, is not that the voters of Winslow don't totally trust the town council, but how are they gonna know how much money they're committing to?
That information will be at the voting booth.
Okay,
So we actually, the school provides us with 11 cost centers and cost. And so each year we put those up inside the voting booth. So the voter will
have a chance to read it.
Yes.
Does it show what FY19 was and what FY20 is, as far as any change?
No.
The state form that they ask you to use, they recommend that you use, shows you what each of the 11 concepts is.
Right. But how would a voter know that whether we're going up or down from FY19? How would they know that it's, I think yours is what, a 4.5% increase or something, which isn't extraordinary?
Right here. That's how you know.
Right. So I guess that, it's a tricky thing, I know, because what you gotta do, but I would ask Mike and Peter and, I don't think the council's gonna get involved, but give some thought as to what information we can, not 15 pages, but just show what we have to show by state law, those 11 cost centers. But to also have some information that says the budget goes up by whatever the amount is. Just so that people can say, yeah, okay, I understand that. It's a 4.5% increase or whatever. Rather than just walk in and vote blindly. You know what I'm asking? Yeah, and maybe it's as straightforward as copying that sheet that John's holding up. You know what I mean? Just have that available. So if somebody wants to look, it's there. No, it's just one sheet. Thank you.
Any further discussion on resolution number 21?
Oh, just one more.
Yep.
This is gonna be a one-sided ballot, right? Thank you very much. Don't wanna go through that again.
Is Raymond coming right back? Should I wait for the vote? No, I don't see any actually.
He's already shown
I did it now.
You're supposed to bring one for everybody.
Oh, not come in chewing as you walk.
If there's no further discussion. If there's no further discussion on resolution 21, 2019, well, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimous. Items for discussion. Scheduling a workshop for the street.
Basically,
roads,
public works capitals, street and roads, PW equipment, and sewer capital and storm drains.
Right.
Yep.
If we could.
Yes, absolutely. So, would Thursday, the 30th, work for everybody? 30th of this month?
It works for me so far, yeah. I don't have anything that day.
And 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Can you send us an email?
Yes, I'll send an email reminder.
say 6 o'clock?
Yes, 6 p.m.
Okay, more discussion items. Putting the adopted budget impact onto the website.
No, good, Mr. Chairman, I think I'm gonna suggested that, and of course, there is the school vote. But I think also, in addition, that we somehow need to make, not pages and pages, but like a one-pager that's on the town website, that if somebody wants to look at what's in the budget, they can see it.
Can look at it, yeah.
Right, if they don't wanna see it, they haven't got to look. I pulled a draft together. This is just a very rough draft, and I got copies for Peter and Joel, because I think that they've got a piece that they could be adding to it.
Is that for Peter?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah, I think I got it now.
This is one page.
Yep, one page.
So you're looking for something that would be posted on the town website?
Town website.
That every citizen could access, right?
I think I got it. And this is draft, so it isn't,
Yep.
I'm not saying it has to be this or anything like that. Just kind of breaking it down, not going into every line item detail, but talk about the primary changes, how much the budget increased. I think that there are really three pieces to it. One is the municipal without the sewer. We then talk about sewer, because that's another rate, right? It's not from property taxes. And then the education budget, which I think we can pretty well summarize. And then we talk about the revenue side of it, just so that people will know this is how we're raising the funds. Now, this can be changed in any way. But if people are agreeable, I can give Mike the electronic copy, and I'll copy Peter and Joel on it. And then if you folks want to work on the education language, I think Mike can probably take care of the municipal and the sewer.
Yep.
Can you work into that, the fact of what the state has done to us and what
Yeah,
they've contributed, or
put
did
it
you
in
do that?
again.
Okay, all right.
It says, it's important to
yeah.
note that the need for the property tax mill rate increase is a direct result of the Maine legislature continuing to underfund municipal revenue sharing and not funding education at the voter-approved 55% level.
Is there a way you could put a specific number in there, like we lost 450,000 from A and 200,000 from B?
Well,
you know,
actually-
which would have been no increase.
Actually, it's 450,000 and the 450,000,
Right.
approximately. It's about 900,000.
So what we've lost is greater than what we're raising taxes.
Right. Yep.
I don't know if that's
Can add
supposed
that.
to be put in there.
In total,
Right.
I think it's about 900,000.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds good to me. Okay, so we'll have you guys work on that, Mike?
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I just
Yes, go ahead.
comment?
Getting old? Long meeting, hasn't it?
I have to say it, so I'm glad I didn't go any further. I'm not sure I can explain that budget without getting into 14 pages.
Yeah.
I just would like to start, as I'm listening to the conversations that took place here this evening, I go back to something that I heard a while back. I'm hearing something from the back row, I can't remember. Working together for strong schools and a strong community. Telling you, every time I meet a new family that wants to come to Winslow, they talk about family, they talk about community, and they talk about the importance of strong schools. So I thank you for the work that you've done with us with this budget. It's been extremely difficult. I think we've tried to be as transparent as possible. Many of you attended our meetings, so you have intimate knowledge of what went into this budget and how difficult this budget was. This is not meant to be a negative, Jerry, because I don't never do that to anybody. because that's not my style of operation, but for you to have intimate knowledge over our increased potential sewer cost and the reason for why we need another bus tells me that we've been pretty transparent, and I appreciate you looking into that. Going into this budget, you're right. It's all about the narrative. So when you look at 702,071, what you said tonight, Ken, to start off this meeting, if you're speaking for the council, that is the best acknowledgement that a community could hear, because the council is aware of what's happened. And we're showing unity with this. Because when you look at this, and you look at the fact that debt service is up 510, you look at local revenues, we're down 450,000. And you look at the teacher retirement contribution keeps increasing to our cost, where we had to budget another 343,000. And you look at the fixed costs that you mentioned, increases in electricity, oil, to the tune of 127,000. You add up what I just mentioned, you're at 1.4 million. And I haven't talked about textbooks.
Right.
I haven't talked about student enrichment. I haven't talked about anything except fixed cost. So when we went to work and cut 720,000 plus out of this budget, 374,000 of that being staff, 345 plus thousand being other things. The narrative that accompanies that 702,000 is pretty tremendous. Yet it's still 702,000, and I understand it. We all understand it, and everybody has worked hard to keep those costs down as low as we can. But listening to you tonight, you understand that if we cut any more out of this, we begin to devastate the infrastructure of our schools. And we also understand that that's not what you want as well. So the board and I truly appreciate the efforts that have gone in getting us to this point. And yes, I'll be glad to add something to that narrative, Ken. I try to keep it short if I can, but it's going to be difficult.
If I might add something, some of the, we talk a lot about the budget, we talk about the school system, and I can't tell you how this last year that I think that, the council and the school board and everybody's done a great job of making progress and understanding where each side comes from in this process. Is that for the first time, I think we feel a team. But part of the intangibles we don't see is my daughter just recently moved back from Gorham on Corbett Lane in a nice home with their baby that's 16 months. And I've been over there quite a bit, and to see the younger parents that are moving into town and taking up these residents, it's like the olden days when you have all these kids and they're all around, and there's a lot of young people moving into the town of Winslow right now with their families and having families. I see it every day at all aspects of the town. And that's because you guys run a school system and you guys do the work to make that school. They would not come to town if they thought that the school system was inadequate and not A1. And they're coming to this town and they're staying in it because of the work that you guys do for education of our students. And I think we're set up for the future to continue that. And I can't thank you enough over the last years of the work that the school board, the teachers, everybody has done to progress this. And Peter, I think kudos to you for showing the leadership, and Steve and everybody on the council too. And I look forward to in the future having conversations and stuff and actually having dialogue that we can do. There won't be easy times, but there'll be, at least I think we've set the groundwork for a future that's going to be very good for the town of Winslow.
It's well said, Remy.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
I can be hard at times, I know. But I learned a long time ago that there is such a thing as constructive conflict. There is such a thing as destructive conflict, which doesn't work. But I think we all have to challenge ourselves, because we are running a business. It's called the town, and we've got services and we've got things that we have to achieve, and particularly the town council is like the board of directors. That's the way I view it. So I think we always want to have that ability to have a little constructive conflict, ask the questions, get to the level of detail, because ultimately, this is the council's budget. So that when, this isn't the school budget, it isn't the sewer budget, it's the town council's budget, because we're the ones that approve it. So we have to have ownership of it. So I do appreciate the good work the school department and all the folks have done this. The sewer folks, municipal folks, even when I challenged Paul on his cold storage building, I want to make sure that I can defend everything that we're asking the people of Winslow to do. And that's what our job is. Thank you.
Thank you. There was one more item on the discussion list. I don't know if we want to pick it up. And it was discuss how to inform the public about the school renovation plan.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I think I'm the one that put that on, and I want to thank the press for doing such a good job of getting that information out, because I think that's so critical. And I'd really have to defer to the opinion of the school board primarily. Do you think people understand the changes that were made from what they voted on just about a year ago? And has that information got out there so nobody's going to be surprised if they hear we aren't going to have an auditorium? Your best opinion.
The first thing I want to do is update you on something that has to do with this project. The night after the board meeting on Thursday, I contacted Pete Pelletier, the construction manager, told him that the board voted in the affirmative and we were to go out to bid, go do your job. And so an email this morning from Doug Breer, the architect, basically saying that Pete Pelletier has received our final drawings and specifications first thing this morning. We'll issue at least one addendum to these documents during the next couple of weeks. That's our chance to make any last-minute changes or corrections prior to the bids coming back. So all systems go and they're working, and that's really good news. So they got everything taken care of. In answer to your question, Ken, I feel we've done our due diligence. I think Meg has done an outstanding job reporting on these articles. We've had 3 or 4 headline articles on this, clearly explaining what some of the issues were. We've had a public information session. Again, we had a PowerPoint that went along with that. This has been recorded, by the way. It's on our website. I can give it to you to put it on the town website if you'd like. The entire event is recorded, answering the questions that are in this packet. We were very clear to the 4 options that we had. We were very clear to the restrictions that we faced. We were very clear as to why we chose option 3. Basically, that's the option that met the educational needs of our students, that we can add to in the future, and it fell within budget. Having said that, I'm very proud of the board that's sitting back here, because they realize very much what you made reference to, Ray, and that is people are coming here. And that's a great thing, and people are coming here for different reasons. And one of the things, as you know, people come to communities for different things. And so when you look at program and you think of the arts and you think about a performance area, what we currently have, as you know, is small. A 200-seat auditorium. It's not so much the auditorium, but it's the stage itself where they actually perform. It's small. You've always had the junior high with a much larger stage to rely on so that you could do different productions and different works. I'm listening to the work that has taken place with our students. I've got a recording on my phone of Jazz Night. That jazz man absolutely pops. Those kids are great, and it's only going to get better. And it's only going to get better with the performing in the performing arena as well. And so as we look ahead, it would behoove us to be proactive and think about what could we do, because what we have now will suffice. It'll do the job for now, but as we look ahead, what could we do? Could we consider taking a few members of council, taking a few members of the board, taking a few members from the community, taking a few members who are interested in the arts, forming a committee, and looking at it as the Winslow Public Schools Giving Foundation, in support of the arts, pick a target goal and say, this is how much money we'd like to raise over a set period of time, and see where other things come into play so that we can move forward. Because you don't make a bad meatloaf by making it bigger. What you need to do is think outside the box and come up with creative ways in order to meet your needs, and not always say this has to fall on the backs of the taxpayers. So I offer that as a suggestion as we look ahead into the future. Jerry?
Yes, we gotta be ingenious.
You
That's
do.
why I changed it on you.
You absolutely do. Thank you.
One of the things is, are we gonna have a meeting when Wedgwood has gotten all their bids in?
The guaranteed maximum.
Yes.
Yep. I will absolutely get the information to you. If you'd like to have a meeting, we can do that. If you'd like me to just put the information out, I can do that either way.
And then we should have a meeting to see how they came about.
Okay.
Just one comment, Peter, I think your comments are very appropriate, and I like that idea of this group, the Winslow Charitable Foundation. Not that I would expect that they're gonna raise every dollar.
No.
But that to me shows that there is good support, and I think that goes a long way in providing that positive, so that if we do need to spend taxpayer dollars, we can say, but we're also being matched, and the community as a whole is providing support as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussions, comments?
Move, we adjourn.
Second.
And